So welcome to session 2, Zoom session 2 in all of its glory. I appreciate you guys being here this morning. I did a really bad job of teaching this class at 8 o'clock this morning, like really bad. So I've regrouped, feel like this class is gonna go better, and we'll see how we move from there. So it's always nice to be in a little bit of a later section so that when the teacher bombs the first section, you at least get a little bit, hopefully a little better effort from me this time around. Let me share my screen with you to kind of show you what we're going to do. I told Faith I'd show you pictures of my dog. So here in just a second, I'm going to show you some pictures of my dog. And then we're going to check in with each other in small groups. I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and then just what I'm really going to do is ask you to dig out those scavenger hunts that you completed with other partners, and I'm going to ask you across different partnership groups to compare your answers to make sure that everybody's on the same page with those terms. After we do that, we'll come back and we'll walk through some of the reading assignments that I'm going to have you do between now and next Tuesday, and then we're going to get off here and go do whatever it is that we're supposed to do after this. So that's the general plan. Stop sharing real quick. And like I said, I'm gonna show you pictures of my dog here. So let me reshare the screen. Faith, are you even still here? Did you leave? Where are you at? There you are. Okay, so here we go. Okay, there's my dog.
Oh,
her name is Fawn.
Goodness.
In this picture, she's very upset at having been woken from her daily nap, which takes most of the day, actually.
She's so cute. Oh my goodness. That is so cute.
She's not what one would term an active dog.
She's so cute.
Yeah, she often finds places to snooze. So there we go. That's my dog. Not sure what kind of dog she is. She's a coonhound of some sort. I don't know if she's a mixed or if she's full bred, but we rescued her from the shelter a couple of years ago. So, so there she is.
Cute.
So if you guys have animals that you want to have with you in class, hey, I'm good with that. No worries. Oh, there we go. Okay. That's the end. All right. Can we see this screen now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We'll come back to that here in just a second. Let me share this with you again. And in just a few moments, like I said, I'm going to put you back into your smaller groups and you're going to compare your scavenger hunts. But as we kind of set the stage for the class today, if you were all together, if we were face to face, I would have you do some brainstorming on a piece of paper about your first week as a teacher. Not so much the first day, but the first week as a teacher. And if you think about it, in the next like 3 years, you guys are all going to be out in your classrooms and you're going to be kind of living the dream, having to teach students. And so the question I would ask is, we know kind of what to teach based on the standards that you broke down in the first class. You kind of put those standards into the I can statements so you know how to assess those standards. So you know what to teach and how to assess it, but how do you actually deliver your instruction? And that kind of sets our framework for what this course is and what we're going to start to do today. How do you actually teach the stuff you're supposed to teach? Do you just, throw it out on random pieces of paper? Like, do you hit your students over the head with books? What is it that you do to actually deliver your instruction? And these instructional strategies, many of them have been researched over time, and that's what we're going to really start to delve into today. We're going to give you some readings about different instructional strategies and how effective they are and the research behind them. So that's the gist of what we'll try to accomplish over these next couple of class periods. If you can see this, in the last class, I tried to put them into small groups and have them solve this, and that just didn't work. So I'm just going to show you this screen here. And if you remember, we looked at a slide presentation or a slide from last class that had all of these in the order of teaching. So I want you to think about how these would look. This is a hypothetical exercise. You don't have to say anything, but think about which of these terms would come first on this list. Think about what comes last, and think about where instruction takes place in there as well. kind of sets our stage for what it is that we're supposed to be doing too. I'll give you a minute or so to look through this. And then I'll move to the next slide that will have them all completed. Where would you put each of those terms? Move to the next slide. I mean, this is kind of the order that you would go in terms of designing your lessons and instruction for your course, the assessment. We know that standards come first, then you design your assessment around those standards. We've talked about all that, but what we haven't talked about is the instruction. And so that again is what we're going to try to get into a little bit today. But before we do that, I am going to put you into smaller groups again. Stop sharing this. And as I'm figuring out how to do the small groups, go ahead and find those scavenger hunts that you guys did in the other groups. I'm going to randomize your groups again, probably groups of 3, maybe you might have 4 in there. And I want you to just take about 7 minutes or so and do a comparison to make sure that everybody's kind of on the same page with the terms. And when we come back as a whole group, if any pairing has definitions that are radically different, we can kind of talk about those. But otherwise, we'll kind of move on. So I just want you to make sure that you've got those terms and that they're basically, right in comparison with each other. So I'm going to give you about 7 minutes, as I said, to do that, and then we'll kind of come back. We'll show you those readings, and then we'll be on our merry way. There are 19 of you here. I'm going to organize you into 5 rooms, so you'll have either 3 or 4 people in your room. So bring those scavenger hunts, and I will see you in about 7 minutes. Okay, so hopefully, as we're all back from those small groups, were there any terms that you threw out there that people in the groups had a radically different definition for? Or we were pretty good with the terms we had? Okay, so again, we'll come back to those terms throughout the course of the unit here, or throughout the course of this class. And I just want you to have those as kind of a working background for some of the stuff that we're going to talk about, because I can't guarantee that you would have heard about those things otherwise. I'm not going to guarantee that we're going to hit every single term on that list. We will hit probably quite a few of them. And in particular today, we're going to start the conversation about instructional strategies and instructional activities. In just a few moments, I'm going to show you some readings on our course website that I want you to at least look through before we get back together on Tuesday. And really, before your PLCs, you might at least give them a glance. I know that in the PLC that I teach at 2 o'clock today, and then at my 8 o'clock tomorrow, we're going to at least touch on some of those. You don't have to have an in-depth knowledge of them, but just be aware that they exist. So I'm going to walk you through those. When we teach in a class, we employ instructional strategies and instructional activities. Our instructional activity right now at this moment is me lecturing to you. That's a particular activity of instruction. It's not the only one that you should use, and you probably shouldn't use it for very long periods of time, but it's an instructional activity. And so let me share my screen with you. Okay, we see in the screen here. Okay, so on your course website in the week 1 module, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different readings / PowerPoints, etc. that I just want you to look through over the next few days. And they're going to tell you about 2 researchers in the field of education whose specialty is looking at the effectiveness of instructional strategies. Okay. The first one we'll talk about is Robert Marzano. We'll talk about him a little bit more on Tuesday. You can look at this PowerPoint. I'm not going to open it for you right now, but you can just kind of take a look through that PowerPoint and familiarize yourself with Marzano's work. This is a quicker document, so I'll open this one here to show you. This is just a 2-pager. Robert Marzano is a researcher of classroom teaching effectiveness and has done a lot of research over the years and has identified what he calls the 9 different high-yield instructional strategies. And you can see them on the left-hand side of this sheet, identifying similarities and differences, summarizing and note-taking, et cetera, on down to questions, cues, and advanced organizers. Okay? This is the strategy, it's the category of a way that you teach things, identifying similarities and differences. So this is the strategy itself. Here are different actual activities that teachers use in classrooms to meet this instructional strategy. So again, this is the strategy itself. These are activities in your classroom that actually meet those strategies. T-charts, Venn diagrams, anything that allows students to compare one thing to another falls into this category of identifying similarities and differences. Does that make sense? Kind of give me a thumbs up. Okay. Same with summarizing and note-taking. Here are the things on the right side are different activities that are related to this strategy. So the strategy is related to the activities, but strategies and activities aren't the same thing. Okay. So when we ask you to go into observations and identify strategies, you'll be talking about something like this. If we ask you for a particular activity related to a strategy, you'll look for things like this. Okay. So that's one of those readings. There's also a fellow, his name is John Hattie, and he does similar research to Marzano and has also identified effective instructional strategies. Now, whereas Marzano says there are 9 effective strategies, Hattie's got a lot more than 9. And this document boils down his top 10, but he looks at dozens of different strategies if you look at his actual work, okay? So again, just kind of look through these documents, familiarize yourselves with them. There's a couple of documents about Marzano, a couple about Hattie, and then I would encourage you to look through this. This is from the state of Missouri. It says 10 research proven practices. I don't know where we got the number 10 because there's far more than 10 in here. This is a document from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. It's 53 pages, so don't read it. Just skim it. But when you go out as a full-time classroom teacher, you'll be evaluated on things that you do in your classroom. And in some cases, your district may choose to focus on strategies that you employ. And if that's the case, this is a document that you can walk through that will help you out by connecting those strategies to Missouri teacher standards. You can kind of take a look at that and see. If you choose not to look at that one, that's probably okay with me, but the first 4 are definitely ones you want to kind of look through. Marzano PowerPoint, high yield strategies, Hattie 2 and Hattie 3. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so by Tuesday of next week, please have at least skimmed through those things because a lot of what we'll do in our sessions next week is going to be predicated on that you kind of have a working knowledge. If you've got me for PLC, give a quick skim to those before you come to class today or tomorrow morning, and we'll do a little more illumination of those things in the PLC, and then we'll also add another researcher and practitioner whose name is John Antonetti, and that's how we'll get you through the PLC class this semester. So just be mindful of those things for PLC, have a working knowledge of them for this particular class. And are there questions about any of that as far as the readings that you're supposed to do, anything along those lines before we do our final break here? Okay, so any final questions about stuff you've seen or stuff that you think is coming up? Okay, well, with that, let's go ahead and say goodbye. If you have questions that you want to just ask me individually, you can hang out on the Zoom. Otherwise, we'll see you later. We'll see you on Tuesday. I'll send you a different Zoom link for Tuesday's class. And if you need to refer back to this, I'll have this uploaded to our course website here later today. Okay, take care, guys. We'll see you later.